Hello, everyone. It's Mega Champ again. I know it's been probably way too long since I've had to do one of these. That's gonna be what kind of happens when you spend 200 hours in a single game. So, yeah, I did kind of warn you. I did. I literally warned you at the end of my Full Thoughts video for Digimon Survive that I had this strange feeling that I'd end up spending 200 hours in it, and I ended up being right. Doesn't happen often, I'll give you that. But every so often, I just kind of know. I just kind of know. But I have finally, at long last, took way too goddamn long, if I'm to be completely and brutally honest with you, which you know I'm going to be. But I finally finished Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the DLC, Future Redeemed, to my liking at least. To my liking. A couple days ago, gave myself a little bit of a break and time to do my little bullet point list. So, yeah, after 200 hours, it's God. You need a break. Let's be honest here. You need a break. So, yeah. So, we all know what this is. We all know what this means. We all know what this is time for. Especially considering that there may or may not be a Nintendo Direct this week. Lots of people claiming there will be, so it's probably best I get this over with as soon as possible. Interesting timing, maybe even good timing if I'm really to be honest here, but yeah. I'll worry about that if and when I need to worry about that, and honestly, I don't think I'll need to worry about it at all, but not the point. It is time for my full thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for the Nintendo Switch. And I guess Nintendo Switch 2 technically, but I played it I played it on the Nintendo Switch 1. That's the console I played Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on. As always, as usual, as per normal, I have to give my broken record statement here in which I say that this is just my personal feelings, thoughts, and opinions and experiences with this particular game. Everyone's feelings, thoughts, experiences, and opinions are going to be different at the end of the day. You can have your opinion, everyone can have their opinion, which means I'm allowed to have my opinion. So it's just how I personally felt about this particular game and what my thoughts, feelings, and experiences and overall opinion of the game is and was. Also, as usual, also as per normal, I'll go over the story of the game, the characters of the game, the world or the setting of the game, where the game takes place, the graphics, and the gameplay. I am not an expert. I have never pretended to be an expert. So I'm not an expert. Imagine that. Again, just how I personally felt on the game. I will try to be as spoiler free as possible. I tried to do the best I could when it came to spoilers. There are a couple of things that I don't particularly have a choice in talking about, so there is kind of spoilers, but not really spoilers. And I'm going to hint at things that might technically be a spoiler, but if you can figure it out from the hints, that's not really on me. So just take that however you want. If you want to be truly safe, then it might be better for you to not listen to this video at all or watch or whatever. If you want to be as spoiler free as possible, but do whatever you want at the end of the day. So, yeah. So, the first thing I need to tell you before I get started here is that, like I just stated at the beginning of this video, and that I wasn't joking about in the slightest in any way whatsoever, because it's not something you want to joke about, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has become the very first single player, non multiplayer game that I have played that I logged 200 hours in. 200 hours. Not kidding. You are hearing correctly, not joking. 200 hours. 170 to 180. I don't remember the specific number. I think it was 180-ish in the main game, and close to 30, if not 30, in the DLC, Future Redeemed. It's both of them combined. You could make the argument that it's not 200 if you don't want to count DLC for whatever reason, but it's still a part of the game. So I just personally count it. So whatever you want to believe is up to you. But as far as I'm concerned, it's the first single player, non multiplayer game that I have logged 200 hours in. And it broke my personal record of longest amount of time that I spent in a single game. The last game to hold that record was Xenoblade Chronicles 2. What else did you expect it to be? Which was around 140, I believe. So yeah, it broke it in spades. I don't think this record will ever be broken. I don't expect it to ever be broken, but anything is possible, I suppose. Technically speaking, anything is possible. And the second thing I need to let you know before I get started here is that it is strongly recommended, and I personally would strongly recommend to you, but it is not required. It is just strongly recommended that you play the other two Xenoblade Chronicles games before playing this one, which is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm assuming they'll make a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition at some point, but it doesn't exist yet. It's also out of print and impossible to find. So you may have to get to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 digitally. You might still be able to find it physically. The last time I checked, I was able to, but if worse comes to worse, even though I don't normally advocate for it, digital is still technically an option and a possibility. But yeah, it's recommended but not required for you to play the other two Xenoblade games. Now, I did buy Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, but I haven't played it yet, and I was still able to play it just fine, basically. There is a bit in the DLC that mentions something from Xenoblade Chronicles X, but that was it, as far as I know. There might be some areas from Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I did not play Xenoblade Chronicles X before playing this game, and I was fine. But that's just me. But you should probably at least play Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 before playing this game. You can still enjoy the game just fine if you don't, but you won't understand a lot of what is going on or the terminology that is being used in the DLC, as it incorporates stuff that happened and knowledge of what happened and major spoilers of what happened in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. Or in this case, Definitive Edition and then Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So that's just my recommendation. You can still enjoy the game, at least the main game, just fine if you don't. But you're going to not really understand probably a lot that's going on in the DLC, Future Redeemed, and it also gives major spoilers for what happened in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. So I would recommend you play the other prior games. They're really good games. Mostly. like I stated in the past, for me personally, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. But for me personally, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I didn't really like the main game all that much. I loved Future Connected, the extra mode or quote unquote DLC. And then it was the exact opposite for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I loved the hell out of the main game, and the DLC was kind of meh. I didn't really like it all that much, but that's just me. Everyone's going to feel differently, but it is still an overall really good franchise with one of the more better open worlds, I guess, if you want to use that terminology and put it that way. And I'll reveal how I felt about this game overall later, obviously. I have rambled way too much already. So let's get started with, of course, as spoiler free as possible, but potential spoilers, just as a sort of pre warning here for the story of the game, of the main game, and some of the DLC. I'm not going to talk too much about the DLC because you are not really going to understand a lot of things that's going on unless you play the main game and the prior Xenoblade Chronicles games. It is what it is, I suppose. So, now that I have my bullet points up, I can briefly go over the game. I'm not the story of the game or the main game and the DLC. I'm not going to go over too much due to spoilers. But basically, the story of the game is that there's two factions in the game, Kevis and Agnes, who are against each other in a seemingly endless war. And then three characters from each faction become something that is claimed to quote-unquote end the world, which is known as Ouroboros. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of the tale of how the snake is eating itself or eating its own tail, a loop, basically. But it turns out to be the exact opposite because, of course, why would it be anything else? And the two sides of the three characters from each side are forced to work together and to become friends to fight against quote unquote the real enemy. So from the trailers, if you watched the trailers. And the real enemy is Mobius, which I'm not going to go over Mobius. Well, actually I am, but Mobius, the main villains of the game, can sort of turn into quote unquote a giant monster and or a giant mech like enemies. So there is some mech stuff in this game, but I didn't mind it too much. It's only when it's only mechs is when I kind of have a problem, but it depends on the situation. So we'll see how I feel about Xenoblade Chronicles X, but that's for a different, much later time, probably 2 years from now. So, and then the power of the 6 characters gained can do that as well. In a combination of 2 of the characters, one from each of the factions, Kevis and Agnes. And this may or may not cause quote unquote shipping, if you know what that term means, and is the definition of romance. Oh joy. I mean, it's kind of in the entire Xenoblade Chronicles franchise, so you can't really be too surprised, I guess. Some of the villains, some of Mobius, turn out to be sort of a shocking twist or a shocking revelation, however you want to put it, so to speak, and characters that you really don't expect who actually turn up being Mobius and are a massive shock to the party because it's someone they know. That's all I'm going to say about that without delving into spoilers. And it happens actually multiple times, so more than once. At least twice from what I remember. probably more than that. I can't remember everything. I'm sorry. That's what 200 hours in a single game is going to do to you, but it happens at least more than once, at least twice, possibly more. And saying more would obviously be major spoilers, so I will not. And here's one of your first hints. One of the main villains, one of the main Mobius members, actually two of them, but the main one that you are mostly fighting against, let's just say, is a literal doppelganger moment. In more ways than one. In more ways than one. In more ways than one. Here's another hint. Multiverse. Alternate universe. However you want to put it. Is it getting a little tired of this sort of thing, multiverse being used? Well, sure it is in many ways. It was all inspired from, I guess, did Avengers start it? I mean, there was like multiverse stuff in Tales of Xillia 2 as well, and that was before Avengers, but so it probably started much sooner. It's just become one of the more sort of quote-unquote popular things to do. Whether that's good or bad is up to interpretation. I can understand why it can get a little tiring and a little sickening, but, you know, it's always dependent on the situation and how they use it and the writing, and I could go on and on and on, but... And I won't say anything else other than that, again, due to major spoilers. But it's a literal doppelganger moment. So overall, I would say the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the main game, it's pretty good. It is. There's just one problem, which brings me to my first criticism, complaint, whatever you want to call it. It takes too long for everything to be explained. It does. It really does. It takes way too goddamn long for them to explain everything to you. It takes them until chapter 5, and there's 7 chapters. There you go. That's too long. I'm sorry. Now, could you make the argument that I was just doing way too much? I'm sorry. I'm obsessed with side quests. And, playing way too slow. Again, I spent 200 hours in the game. Sure, maybe you can make that argument. But personally, I believe that the story just takes too long to explain everything. It does. It really does. And for the story to quote-unquote become good. That's just how I personally feel. Everyone's going to feel differently. Don't get me wrong, though. Don't get me wrong, before people start having mental 5-year-old temper tantrums. The story does have good moments here and there every so often, but they are few and far between, and for me at least, you might feel differently if you play it, which you should, up to you, but it just, didn't really keep me invested in the long run. However, once they do finally explain things, it's like it becomes good because they explain everything, and then they're back to being slow, and then once it gets to the end game, it's pretty damn good. It is. So it's really slow, then good, then slow again for a bit, and then really good. So it's not really good consistently, basically. It just takes way too long, for me at least, to get to that point, if you ask me. But everyone's going to feel differently, obviously. Here is another hint for you when it comes to kind of one of the overall plot points or revelations in the game. So this is your moment now to pause the video and go forward maybe 10 minutes or so, or 5 minutes, or however long I decide to take to do this. Or you could just stop watching now, I guess. Here's a good way for me to describe to you what the twist is. For context, I don't like playing horror games, but I like watching the YouTubers play horror games and their reactions to the horror games. But I know about horror games and their plot points and some of their plot lines and some of their kind of, again, quote unquote, popular pop plot lines. So it's kind of like this. Okay, so possible major spoilers if you can figure it out from this hint. So stop now. 3, 2, 1. Okay. It's like one of those indie horror games, or even just horror game plots in general. This might even be used in some horror movies or thriller movies, maybe. I don't know. I don't watch all that stuff. But it definitely horror game plots or indie horror game plots in general, where you're sort of, stuck in a quote unquote purgatory in between life and death, so to speak, and you're stuck in a quote unquote infinite loop, and you have to quote unquote redeem yourself or quote unquote realize your sins in order to quote unquote break free from the loop. If you can figure out what I mean by that and figure it out from there, then you spoiled yourself. Congratulations. I did warn you. I did give a warning before I stated this. So there you go. There's a major thing that they kind of do there. But obviously, there's more to it than just that. It's not literally that. It's similar to that and very similar in many ways. But obviously, there's more to it than that. So, when it comes to the DLC in particular, Future Redeemed, the story is basically a prequel to the main game. It shows the city, which is an important area and location in the main game, just so you know. The founders of that, which you don't literally meet them, but there are statues of them, which tells you if they're alive or dead, just so you know, in the city. And it shows who the city founders actually were, who they were, and what they did. For me personally, again, just me, okay, just me. It's my video, make your own. But for me, this DLC story, the story in the DLC, is far better than the main story of the game. So there you go. There's the answer to kind of how I felt overall. It's basically a repeat or deja vu of when I played Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which, if you somehow haven't figured it out already, is a re-release of the first game in the franchise with extra and new content. Where in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I didn't really like the story in the main game, but I absolutely loved the extra quote-unquote content, or DLC if you want to refer to it that way, even though it literally isn't future connected. I love the hell out of that. I don't know why. I wish I understood myself, but I just did. But the major difference here is that I would say I liked the main story in Xenoblade 3 a hell of a lot more than I did the main story in Xenoblade 1. So that's the major difference. But overall, it's the same situation as when I played Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive, where I didn't really like the main story all that much, but loved the extra content or DLC more. But again, just me, okay? Just me. Now, when it comes to the DLC specifically, and this is coming from the guide that I used for the game, so you can believe it or not, it's up to you, but the DLC is apparently Future Redeemed, that is. Apparently a celebration of and final closure of the first quote-unquote arc of the game, story arc. Kind of like how Kingdom Hearts 3 was the end of the Xehanort arc, and now they're moving to the Lost Master arc. and includes characters from the prior 2 games. And they are literally on the screen. Shulk from Xenoblade 1, Rex from Xenoblade 2. They are literally characters and party members in the DLC. So hopefully you understand slightly why playing the prior games would be strongly recommended. Now, obviously, the question is that why I liked it more because of that? In many ways, sure, you could state that and you could make that argument. But you're going to find out here eventually in a little bit that there's actually a lot more to it than just that. But think whatever you want, because clearly nothing I say is going to make you feel any differently, just like nothing you say is going to make me feel any differently. So that's the story of the game for the most part. Not much else to say about the story. It's all I have for my bullet point list. One other thing I probably should mention here, that I didn't put in my bullet point list, but I'm gonna go ahead and say here. So in one of the final cutscenes in the DLC, don't worry, this is not a major spoiler, at least I don't think it is. They make very blatant and very obvious references to the Xenosaga franchise and Xenogears, which is there's only one game for Xenogears, but still. They make very blatant references to it. So of the entire Xeno, quote unquote, franchise. We're going to talk about that later. But just so you know, they do make very blatant references to Xenosaga and Xenogears, if you care about that. Just letting you know. All right, for now we're going to move on to the characters of the game, or both games of the main game and the DLC. Yes, we are. We're going to do that. So the characters of the game, once I get to my bullet points, are Noah, Lance, Uni, Mio, Senna, and Tyon for the main game. 6. And you do get a 7th that are extra characters known as heroes. I'm not going to go over all of them. There are too many. But one of the heroes is the mascots of the Xenoblade franchise. The lovely Nopon. I do like the Nopon. I like mascots. I'm sorry. Give me a break. I like mascots. Riku and Manana. And then the characters of the DLC are Matthew. Feels weird saying that name out loud. I'll never tell you why. Nickel, Glimmer. Yes, the name of the character is literally A. Nickel, Glimmer, Shulk from Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and Rex from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Yeah. Those are the characters for you. When it comes to the characters, most of them are pretty good. They are. I don't have many complaints about the characters. They're really good, and they're well written. There wasn't really all that much, I guess I should say, of any times when there was a character that I said, I don't like you, or I hate you, or you are really damn annoying. There wasn't really any situation like that. Except one situation. There's only one time that annoyed me with a character, and I'm not going to say their name or who they are due to massive spoilers, but it has to do with one of the quote-unquote shocking Mobius reveals of who they are and who they are and were or used to be. And all I'm going to really say about it is that it really made no sense to me at all. It didn't. And it felt sort of quote-unquote rushed in a sense. Whether it was rushed or not, I don't know. I have no evidence of that. It's just how I felt. I'm just saying how I feel about that particular situation. the motivation of them to become Mobius seemed utterly asinine to me and just ridiculous and a horror and just stupid overall. I'm sorry, it just did. Maybe it's just me. If it makes you feel better and it helps you sleep at night, it literally could just be only me, okay? But I'm just telling you how I feel. It made no sense to me in any way whatsoever. At all. At all. But just me. What I said about the characters earlier, that wasn't about the one particular situation, about them being pretty good and well written, also applies to the DLC characters. And yes, it helps that there are returning characters. I'm sorry, it helps. Overall, I would say the character development is really well done. Really, it's honestly really well done. All of them have major developments to them and revelations and how they grow as a character and you know, stuff like that. Just really well done character development to really bring out who they are as a person and a character. And the character development is probably one of the more stronger points in the game, I will admit to you. Really well done. That's a thumbs up for me. Really good character development. Well done. Well done. Next up is the setting or the world of the game. So the setting in the world of the game is called Ionios. I might be slightly mispronouncing it. I'm trying my best here. Ionios. It's pretty much a combination and fusion of the worlds from the prior two games, which would be Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, Bionis and Allrest, respectively. Xenoblade 1, Bionis, Xenoblade 2, Allrest. And it has locations from both games all throughout the world. Again, why it's recommended strongly to play the prior games. The world of the game is fine and fits. It does. If we go off the assumption that the first story arc of the game has come to a close, again, at least that's what the guide I used for the game claimed, then it does make logical sense for it to be something like that before they move on to something else or continue moving further. Or if they're done with the franchise altogether, we don't really know. And we'll probably never know until they decide to reveal what their next project is. But it does make logical sense, if you ask me. I did like the world of the game. It's basically the normal sort of quote-unquote open world of Xenoblade Chronicles stuff, of the Xenoblade franchise, where you have to be careful of the enemies that you fight and what level you are. You can be instantly one-shot. You see? That experience helped me in Legends. I'm just saying. Legends Arceus. I'm just saying. And then the world for the DLC is the Cent Omnia region is what it's called. Bring it back up here. And believe it or not, the main hub of the DLC, Future Redeemed, is literally the hometown of Shulk, the place where you start the game, mostly until you're first to explore, in Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Colony 9. Not kidding. So it's more callbacks and references to other areas in prior Xenoblade games. Good. I liked it. No complaints. All different kind of, biomes. Same old, same old. There's really nothing else for me to say. Grass area, forest area, hot area, snow area, desert area, ocean area. Yeah. I like the Xenoblade open worlds. For me personally, it's one of the more better done open worlds, but I don't play a lot of open world games. I didn't play Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. I'm sorry, okay? It's probably never going to happen either, just so you know. But claim I'm missing out all you want. Not going to happen. But one of the better, well done open worlds. I haven't really played a lot of open world games, so we'll see if that changes. But yeah. So now we're going to get into the stuff that I'm really not an expert on. Though I do still have some things to say about one in particular. And that's graphics and gameplay. And we're going to start with graphics. The graphics are probably better than Xenoblade 2, honestly. It fits a lot better. A lot of complaints about the art style of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Personally, I loved the anime-like art style. It's not really anime-like in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but it does kind of fit a bit better for the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. Generally good in what they were trying to portray. I don't really have much else to say when it comes to graphics. If you have been paying attention to things I have said about other different situations and other different franchises, and just really about graphics in general. Because I'm not a graphics nut nor a graphics expert. I'm not. And I'm not going to pretend to be one because I'm not. I will admit that when it comes to the graphics in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 specifically, there is some, not a lot, but some quote-unquote pop-in where you will go and things will pop into the world and loading into the world from time to time. But nothing that really quote-unquote ruined the experience for me. And yes, there are frame drops for enemies that are far in the distance, but what the fuck did you expect? Can't get 60 FPS all the time, just saying. That shit doesn't bother me. As long as it's not, constant, I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't care. I don't care. As long as it's not constantly or every 5 seconds, I don't care. It didn't really ruin the experience for me. It was fine. Don't care. Don't care. But just me. Just me. Just me. Why did I do that? Anyway. So now we got to talk about the gameplay. Yeah. Gameplay is same old Xenoblade experience. What did you expect? But that's generally a good thing. Good thing. It was improved in many ways. However, it was also scaled back and too much, quote unquote, in many ways. It's an MMO, multi-massive online, or style battle system, and mechanics with a cooldown, on arts and other special stuff in the game. But I could say more, but it would technically be spoilers. If you have seen the trailers for Pokemon Legends ZA, their new real-time battle system has a bit of cooldown with it as well. So it's kind of like that, where you use an ability and then it's on cooldown for a certain amount of time, which you can improve depending on what you have equipped and, all that stuff. But same old Xenoblade battle system, which I do like. I do. 6 to 7 party members. That's twice as many as what they had in the prior Xenoblade games. It's normally 3, maybe sometimes 4. So it's almost double. Almost double. And yes, you heard that correctly. 6 to 7 party members. Makes things more chaotic in many ways, or in a sense. But you know what? I love me some chaos. That's why I liked the Tales of Berseria battle system so much. It was so chaotic, and I loved the shit out of it. I'm sorry. That's why I'm looking forward to the real-time battle system of Legend ZA, because it's chaos. Love it. Love it. So that's definitely scaled up from the prior Xenoblade games. And now, unfortunately, it's time for more criticism and more complaints. Again, if you want to call it that. I would call it criticism, but call it whatever the hell you want. There are way too many goddamn mechanics in this game. At least in the main game. I'm sorry, there just are. There are too many damn mechanics. Too much to keep track of. Honestly, too much to keep track of. This is the major drawback, criticism, and complaint of the game, in my opinion, if you ask me from my experience. The class system. Yep, they thought that was a good idea. Got some news for you. It wasn't. It wasn't. I'm not saying classes are necessary. A classes or a class system is necessarily bad in general. It's the way they implemented it in this game. If you have played the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise, which I have, this is the third game of the franchise that I have played now. So this time I am speaking from experience. We have had 2 Xenoblade games where you are allowed to overlevel, and it's too damn easy to do so, and it makes things generally easier. It seems to me that somebody, or clearly a lot of people, more than I thought was actually going on, complained about this. Did they complain about this? Seems likely, from what I experienced in the main game. It's not that I don't understand why, okay? In many ways, I guess I understand it. It's too easy. Oh, really? Oh, really? You know what I would rather have? I'd rather have it be easy than to be frustrated and to struggle and to not understand what I'm doing wrong. Because that happened way too fucking much. And took me way too goddamn long to do certain things. It gets to the point where it just makes me feel like MONOLITHSOFT, the developer of this game and franchise, are falling into or already fell into the wonderful thing that you know I love to call the contradictory hypocrites trap. You are the people who let everyone overlevel for 2 damn games now. Not 1, but 2. 2. Now you have a problem with overleveling. Now you have a problem with it. Seriously. Really. Now is when you have the problem with it. Now. Okay. Sure thing. Bad, dumb, stupid, nonsensical, asinine, illogical, and other descriptive words. Just plain bad. I'm sorry. 2 games. You let us overlevel, and now you have a problem with it. Okay. Sure thing. Because there were occasional times I struggled. Some during bosses, which is understandable. I'm not going to act like that wasn't the problem. But also times against certain parts in the game and against certain enemies. Really. Took me way too many times. Way too many attempts. Certain stupid fucking setups I shouldn't have had to do. You know what would have solved this? Take a wild guess of what the easy solution to this was. This shit never happened in the prior games. Yep, you guessed it, because I was allowed to overlevel. Give me a break. Give me a break. Just saying, let me overlevel. Give me a break. Ridiculous. But guess what? Not an issue in the slightest in the DLC. Not an issue in the slightest in the DLC. Much better systems overall, and you're allowed to overlevel. Now do you see why I liked the DLC better? The long and short of it here is that I just feel like they threw way too many goddamn mechanics in the main game, but about just the right amount in the DLC. But it's just me, okay? It's just how I personally feel. You know, I'm not the one who let people overlevel for 2 fucking games and now it's a problem. Look. Overall, it's a great game. It is. But unfortunately, it failed to beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for me. I'm sorry. It didn't. It failed. And the reason for that is because the story in that game, in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, kept getting better and better and better and better and kept me invested for longer. This game did not. When I did this bullet point list, I tried to come up with a metaphor, and it's a bad metaphor, and I didn't know how to sort of put the metaphor. So I did the best I could. I'm sorry. It felt like watching a snail race until halfway through the race, where all of a sudden they decided to change the rules of the race, and then the snail owners grabbed their snails, and then all of a sudden it became a human race. You see, I didn't know how to finish this metaphor example. I'm sorry. Where they got tired after a little bit, and the now human race, as they have the snails in their hands. And then they tried to use their last remaining energy to sprint to the finish line, which would be the end game of the main game. Now, it was, however, slightly made up for with the DLC and how much I liked it. But you have to remember and keep in mind here that I don't know if it was really good enough, and I'm not really sure if it really makes up for it for that all that much, really. 180 hours for the main game, 30 hours close to that for the DLC. Does that really make up for it? Does it? Up to interpretation. Up to you at the end of the day. Now, for me, the answer is no. The answer is no. But just me, okay? Just me. Just me. Just me. Think whatever you want. Feel however you want. Play the game for yourself. Decide for yourself. That's it. That's it. So there you go. To the best of my ability, with as few spoilers as possible, but possible spoilers, the story of the game, the characters of the game, the world and setting of the game, the graphics, and the gameplay. Music is great, obviously. I just didn't think it was good enough for it to get its own category in this particular case. But yeah, music was phenomenal. It normally is for Xenoblade, so just a quick mention there. Not much else for me to say about the music. I will say that the final boss theme in the DLC sounds like something from Nier, the Nier franchise, or Dot Hack. That's chef's kiss, wonderful, fucking amazing, love that shit. But yeah, music, great. I mean, that's practically normal. So it just doesn't feel like I need to say that because it's obvious, but whatever. Yeah, that's it. That's all my bullet points. Let's see. Okay. Now, what did you expect? How long did you expect I'd go? It's not a surprise. Anyway, here's your wonderful Metacritic score. This is overall. And this is the DLC. I'm not going to give scores for both. I will give an overall score. My overall score is lower than this. My overall score would probably be a solid 8.0, a solid 8 out of 10. I'm sorry. There's just too many mechanics. Let me fucking overlevel. That was the main reason. And the story didn't keep me invested all that much. It didn't do what Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did. So, but just me. It's just me, okay? It's just how I feel. Everyone's experience and opinions are going to be different. It's just how I personally feel. Experience it for yourself. Make up your own mind. That's it. I don't really know what else to tell you or what else to say to you. So, I need some goddamn short games now. And luckily, the next 3 are short. Starting with Rayman Legends. Yes, I'm playing Rayman. Or at least this one. If they put out more games on modern consoles, I'll play them too. But I'm playing Rayman Legends next, so that's the next one. Though clearly I take twice as long as everyone else, but the next 3 are short because it's this and then 2 indie games, which indie games tend to be short. So hopefully I can get through them much faster than this. God, I would hope so. But yeah, Rayman Legends is next. Not much else to say. This is only the 3rd game I've played. It's not great for my end of the year list. If I can get through these next 3, which should be much shorter. If I can get to the end of the year with 6, then I'm going to have to just consider that a victory. Do I like it? No. Will I accept it? Yes, but if I can get to the end of the year with 6 games I played, I'll consider that a victory. So there you go. My full thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the DLC, Future Redeemed. If I can talk. Future Redeemed, yes. Yeah. So I guess now someone might ask, was the 200 hours worth it? Well, I beat the game, didn't I? I don't know what else to say. Other than, yeah. I beat it. I guess that's really all that matters. It was a good game. Just didn't really keep me invested all that much with its story and, well, the main game anyway. And then the too many goddamn mechanics, and now all of a sudden they have a problem with over-leveling. Okay, sure thing. But I've said that enough. You have gotten the point, I would hope, so. That's all I got. I don't think there's going to be enough, even if there is a Nintendo Direct this week, for me to make a video. We'll see if I'm wrong. If there's enough, I will, but I don't expect there to be. We'll see. Hasn't even been officially confirmed yet, so not even worried about it. That's all I got for you. Yeah. I'll see you when I see you. Don't know what else to say. So either the next video will be full thoughts for Rayman Legends, which I'm playing on my PlayStation 5 through its PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility, and we'll go from there. So either it'll be full thoughts for this, or if somehow there are enough games for me to talk about, then maybe I'll talk about the Nintendo Direct if there is one. So there you go. This is Mega Champ. Once again, going for way too goddamn long. You shouldn't be surprised at this point. Saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. Bye. Bye.